right. I'm back with another Avengers video. I said I probably wasn't going to do one until Hawkeye came out, but I had a special fan request today that at least one person said they like my Avengers videos, and I didn't really have anything to talk about with Destiny specifically today. So I figured I'd focus on a leak that came out, rearranging the order of or what are supposed to be the next 7 Avengers coming to the game, which, we're 5 months in now, and we have one new Avenger. So that's a little hard to believe. I'll kind of get into that later in general, but I wanted to go through kind of what I thought about these characters coming, and then we can talk about if they're actually coming later on. That is a little less than certain at this point, given the state of the game. But I, for one, am hoping that it happens. I would love to see kind of the grand at least 2 year unfolding of this, which is clearly what they originally had planned. Before the game wasn't quite the mega hit they wanted it to be, plus COVID, plus wildfire delays, plus all that stuff. And Evie is snarling behind me. Evie? Yeah, I hear you. Okay. So we'll start with the one character that we know is definitely coming out, which is Hawkeye. And that's middle of March, March 18th, something like that. That was announced in the war table. We've known Hawkeye was coming forever. Pretty much since launch, we knew Hawkeye was coming. They made that pretty clear. They just decided to do Kate Bishop first. I think I will always question their decision to do Kate Bishop as the first follow-up hero because, I know hardcore Marvel fans know who Kate Bishop is, but like average person on the street would not recognize the name Kate Bishop. Her content was good. Her content was fantastic. That wasn't the issue. If you're going to start with an archer, just start with Hawkeye. Like, I don't, maybe the original plan was to have them come out within, a couple weeks of each other, and then it wouldn't have been so bad. But then instead, she's the only hero to come out in, 5 or 6 months. And then we get Hawkeye. We did see a little bit of a preview with him. He is not really the same as Kate. Like, he's an archer and I think shares some moves. Like, he has a sword and stuff like her, but he does not have quantum teleportation and all those things. He has more types of arrows, although some of them are, I think, tied into his kind of general combo moves, and they're not necessarily like you're flipping through like 9 different kinds of arrows. And some of them do look kind of similar to Kate's. It's just with little tweaks. Like, he has a multi-arrow, but then it's got like an electric chain between it, things like that. So we'll see what happens with him. I think his content drop will be more substantive than Kate's just because it comes with the entire new Wasteland area, which features Maestro as a villain. So hopefully we'll get some new villain sectors, alongside this, and we'll at least have a new playable space that is unlike anything we've seen before. So that's good. After that, things get a little confusing. So these leaks come from Miller, who is pretty much the only dedicated Avengers leaker I know, and has been on point with his data mining and stuff. So one change he's made to his list of upcoming heroes is that he thinks that it's likely that Peter Parker may be the next hero after Clint. And before, it was supposed to be Black Panther because, Black Panther's been teased for a long time now, and, there's art for him in the game. There's voice work for Black Panther in the game, voiced by Christopher Judge, the voice of Kratos, which is very cool. But the new readout says that maybe Peter Parker will come first. I have a hunch that the deal they made with Sony probably had some sort of like time limit on it. Like, you can't just say like you're gonna make an exclusive Spider-Man hero anytime over the next 5 years. Like, it would have to be in a relevant time frame. So I'm wondering if there is some sort of stipulation that within the first year or something that they had to release a version of Spider-Man. And I know I'm using Insomniac Spider-Man for my thumbnail here. It is not Insomniac Spider-Man. I think that's been made clear that those are like separate universes. So this version of Peter Parker, I believe, will not be voiced by the same person and will not be the same Spider-Man as Insomniac's universe, but will be Spider-Man, all the same, and they'll have to come up with the whole kit and storyline and all that stuff just for PlayStation. Which, I'm playing it on PlayStation. One of the reasons I bought it on PlayStation is because I didn't want to miss Spider-Man. Back when I thought I would be playing this for 2 years, which is looking increasingly unlikely, but we'll see. And so I do wonder if, just to be safe, they wanted to get out Peter Parker, because if, who knows how long TChalla and the Wakanda update would take, and if that pushes them over a year by itself, or that pushes Peter Parker back over a year. Maybe that broke their deal with Sony. So just to be safe, they're going to release Peter Parker now, even if they're going to attract a bunch of headlines about how Xbox and PC players cannot get him. I think they made a deal. I think they have to fulfill that deal, and that is, no matter what's happening with the rest of the game, I think that aspect of it is something they have to execute. I don't know what his update will contain. We haven't really seen too many leaks about that. There's a lot more leaked about T'Challa, which, according to this, would be the next update. We know we're going to Wakanda. There's some leaks about Shuri being a tech NPC there, and AIM discovering Wakanda, which implies that we're not getting any new villains necessarily, which is not a huge surprise, given that we're also fighting AIM robots in the Maestro apocalyptic future. So it's going to be a while until we get some truly new enemies. The villain is not supposed to be Killmonger. It's supposed to be Ulysses Claw, I think that's his name, who is also in Black Panther as kind of a sub-villain. So he's supposed to be the main bad guy there. And then after that, we get into really uncharted territory, where we know pretty much nothing about these next upcoming characters other than they allegedly exist, and they're being worked on. The next two would be Jennifer Walters, and that is She-Hulk. There are some hints about She-Hulk in the game already. I think there's a poster of one of She-Hulk's classic villains that I assume would be her kind of accompanying villain. Disney Plus is making a She-Hulk show with Tatiana Maslany, I don't know how to pronounce her name, which sounds cool. I don't think this would be tied in with that, because I don't think anything with this game is really tied into any of the MCU in any capacity. I also don't think that she would just be a clone of Hulk. I mean, in the comics, She-Hulk is, a Hulk. She's green, she's jacked, she's huge, but she's not I don't think you could just use the framework of Hulk to make She-Hulk and have them share moves. So she would be a kind of new type of brawler that I would imagine would be kind of significantly different than the current Hulk. I mean, even if they're putting in decent differences between Clint and Kate, I would imagine that She-Hulk and Hulk would be pretty significantly different. And then Bucky Barnes is the next one of that group. Winter Soldier, Falcon and the Winter Soldier is coming up here in about a month. So those wouldn't line up at all. I would imagine that he could share some DNA with Captain America and his brawling style, but he's got his, bionic arm. He probably is going to have a gun or two or three or an assault rifle or something. And I really, really want to play as him. I think he could be a really unique addition to the game, kind of a blend of a gun-toting character and a brawler. That would be very fun. And then Miller doesn't know which of these would be in order. It might be Bucky first and then Jennifer, or vice versa. So we'll have to see. After that, the next one is supposed to be Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. Again, there are hints about Captain Marvel in the game already. I would imagine that she would operate somewhat like Iron Man. She would be another flying character like Thor and Iron Man, and she obviously can shoot sort of cosmic energy beams and do cosmic energy blasts. So I can see her being somewhat control similar to Iron Man, even if she has her own set of moves. There are some voice lines in the game already about Carol Danvers and stuff, so they are at least attempting to work on her. And then the final character on the list is James Rhodes, War Machine. Miller doesn't think that he might be happening anymore. He may have been canceled. There's already full on art for War Machine in the game, but they haven't updated that character in an extremely long time, or really added anything new. So either it's way in the future, or they're just let's skip War Machine and do something else. A long time ago, there was kind of a long string list of other potential Avengers coming to the game at some point. None of those are in this list here. Those don't have any remote timetables, but those were characters like Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, Wasp, Falcon, Mockingbird, and some of these seem like they had clear correspondence with existing characters. Some seem like they would be entirely unique. I know after WandaVision, everybody would want to play as Scarlet Witch right now. I think that would be very cool. But of course, this all leads to the question of if we're going to get to the bulk of these characters at all. And for my money, I think the only true guarantees are Clint, Peter Parker because of contractual obligations, and then probably Black Panther. And I feel like Black Panther would probably be to borrow a Destiny phrase, make or break moment for the game, because that seems like that would be a pretty sizable addition. Even though all these updates are free, like that seems like it would be the closest thing to like an expansion that this game would get. I've said before that I kind of think that they should just bundle like 3 heroes together in a big release rather than these smaller releases. But given the timetable we have right now, maybe that's just not feasible. Maybe they can't do it. But it doesn't really seem like they have the pipeline to be putting these out as fast as they originally promised and as fast as they originally thought they were going to. And I know we're kind of in the downswing of COVID now with vaccinations, blah, blah, blah. But the problem is that a lot of the work that is being done for games this year was happening last year when all this stuff was at its worst. So you're going to see a lot more delays and things, like even if COVID itself and lockdowns and stuff are being listed and people are going back to the offices and things like that, the delays that took place last year are going to heavily affect this year. So I don't think like just because things are over, it's like, okay, now they're going to start releasing a hero every month. I read somewhere something about how they said that the bulk of the team was working on Clint, and there were just like kind of smaller teams working on future content, like future characters, and then future content like ongoing content like Tachyon Rifts and things like that. And like that's not really what you want to hear. Like I kind of would want to hear that like the bulk of the team is working on a major Wakandan expansion for the game, not working on the thing that we've all known about for 6 months that's coming out in like 2 weeks. Like I kind of get it, but it's not the most encouraging. So the question becomes like, how much does Crystal Dynamics, Square Enix, and Marvel sink into this? Because the player count is not good. Like they may see a boost from next gen updates. I don't know what the player count is on console, but it is routinely, around anywhere from 300 to 1,000 on Steam. We saw a tiny burst after Kate Bishop that did not last long at all, because you can run her missions in a day, and then if you don't feel like grinding, Kate Bishop all the way up to 50, 150 for max level power and gear and stuff, then you'll probably just leave and not come back. And I feel like Hawkeye is going to be similar, where people will just maybe come back for the story content and then just peace out again. I don't even know if I really want to grind another full set of archery gear to get Hawkeye all the way up to 150, but I don't know. Well, that's just not the most appealing. Like, I really wish the next character was someone I could be hyper excited about, like a Black Panther or, Captain Marvel or Winter Soldier or something like that. But it's just another archer, like a tweaked archer, which is not. I just don't think that's what the game needs right now. And so then after Clint, when's the next one? Like, when's Spider-Man? When's T'Challa? Another 3 months, like at minimum, probably. And then we're in, the middle of summer. And I just don't know how much gas this has in it. We have seen Anthem talk about some, grand reboots it's planning to do, or not. EA is supposed to make a decision about that kind of imminently, but that was in incubation for a year and a half. And I would play it. Again, it's more of like is that a good business decision? Like to try and revive a player base that was never really even there in the first place, just because your base game does have some core good things in it. I still think Avengers probably has more overall potential than Anthem because of the IP, because of the core story, at least the original storyline being really good. All the characters are fun to play, but trying to operate this as a live service game is not going well, and they were not prepared for how challenging that would be. Again, complicated by COVID and stuff, but we have other live service games that have been able to adapt, probably because they've been doing this longer, like Destiny and Warframe and games like that. But Avengers has really fallen behind, and I think Avengers may have only really had a shot if it was really pumping out, like if they hit 3 characters before Christmas, like that would have been very impressive, and I think a lot of people would have, stuck with the game over a longer term if characters are coming out that quickly. But if it's going to be this pace of 1 every 3 months, it's not going to be enough. And this is not really like a live service game. Like there's just nothing to do for the most part in the downtime between these releases. Whereas, other live service games, Genshin Impact, Destiny, like they're throwing events and like, adding new stuff like every week at reset. And Avengers, the only thing they've added every week at reset, almost every week, is new skins. And like they're very good looking skins, I'll give them that. They're doing a great job with those. And yet it's not really the thing that's going to get people playing. And maybe they're just selling those skins as a way to like justify, look, we can still make money, people are still interested. I do not want Avengers to shut down. I would love to see them work on this for 2 full years and get out all 7 of these characters plus a few bonus ones like Scarlet Witch. I would love to play as all of them because I have very much enjoyed playing with the 7 we have so far and would enjoy playing with the next 7. It's just a matter of what's realistic at this point, and I don't think we can have faith that we will get more than 2 characters right now unless we get some sort of very clear reassurance from Crystal Dynamics, which we have not, which we probably will not, because they do not give reassurance like that. Not anymore. Not after where we've been so far. So we'll see what happens. I will play Clint. We'll see if there's anything to talk about before then. But yeah, I can't say I'm optimistic, and yet I will stick with it until they kind of, decide to call it a day, or if they get some boost and are able to continue for a long time and release a bunch of new stuff. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, I don't know. Well, till then, I'll see you next time.